Alrighty, so currently we don't have anything major pressing on the to-do list for the Mercedes, except for two things. I want to put some better headlights in this, because I just got some basic bitch. Actually, I probably got the extended life Wagner headlights, and they're good, they're fine. The brights work great, but the low beams are just trash. So I got some bright light ones. Now, we're going to see how these look. I absolutely detest the HID look. It is disgusting. It is disgraceful. If you have HIDs in your car, I spit on you. They're nasty and they're disgusting. And when you drive a low fucking Mercedes with a slanted windshield that is just pitted beyond belief, it lights up the whole damn windshield and you can't see a fucking thing. And you got to stare at the white line and pray to Jesus that you don't die. So we're going to put these in, and hopefully they're much brighter and they're not blue, because if they're blue, I'm throwing them in the river. And then also, somewhat pressing, is I gotta wash this fucking thing again. Good Lord. I get about 3 to 4 months out of each wash and wax before this comes back. And all it's doing is just sitting out here in the yard and at work. And this side gets sun. At the hottest time of the day when I'm at work, this side faces the south. And when I'm here at home, this side faces the south. And for whatever reason, this side is nice, but this is the side that was parked up against the pole barn for however many years. And I think this lichen or algae or mold or moss or whatever it is lives in the paint, and I really need to clean this thing good, buff it, sand it, bring some shine back, and then put that wipe-on clear coat on it. But I need two things to do that, and I don't have either, and that's good water, because I'm on well water, and this shit is full of calcium, chock full of calcium, and so it leaves a crust on it. So I have to take this thing somewhere that's clean and clean it, and then somehow drive it back without getting any bug guts and road grime on it, which is a tough task. So I'm gonna have to like clean it somewhere that's nice and has good water, drive it back, and then hand wash all the grime off of it. Then I have to do like actual like finish work, which I hate doing, and then I have to have a nice clean place with no dust, no wind, that's dry, where I can, let this thing sit, clean it, sand it, prep the surface and everything, and get ready to put that clear coat on. And the garage is full of dust. It is always windy out here. There's always sugar sand blowing through the air out here. Yeah, so who knows when the hell that's going to happen. I may just wash the thing and just say, fuck it, take a buffing wheel to it, and then wipe the clear coat on, wax it, call it a day, and just get the thing repainted in 5 years. We'll see. But at the very least, we need to wash this thing, because, the Craigslist side is still a little tolerable, but the non-Craigslist side is just, it's going. So we got to bust out the pressure washer and just spray this thing down again. Or take it to another. The last time I took it through one of them fancy car washes, I paid an arm and a leg. I paid as much as a fucking dinner for two just to get the car washed, but it did last for a good while, and the wax did work. After about a month of the car heat cycling, it finally settled into the hood. So we might just do that again. There's just none of those within like 30 miles of me, so who knows when the hell I'll do that. But anyway, I only ordered one of these because I'm an idiot. So we're going to wait for that, and then we're going to throw some headlights in, and then hopefully we'll be able to see at night. Okay, so we're at work reading about Mercedes transmissions, as one does, and if I'm lucky, I just found the problem with the transmission. This fella is having the exact same issue I'm having, where no matter what he does with the Bowden cable, it always shifts way too early at like, and what I just read in here, right there, is that he had the actual lever for his Bowden cable rotated 300 degrees around from where it's supposed to be. And if I'm recalling correctly, the little lever that the Bowden cable is attached to is behind a stop, and I was wondering how the hell it's supposed to hit the stop, because it pulls into the thing. So I think when I did the valve cover adjustment, I flippy-floppitied the thing, and I've just been running it with the Bowden cable not doing anything for like 7,000 miles. So I'm gonna go do some more looking, because I can't find really a good photo of that, but that may just be the problem. Alright, so I got this fella's YouTube video pulled up. If you see right here, you see that thing? That little, stop? I'm pretty certain that my lever is behind that on my valve cover. So I think that flippy-floppied when I did the valve cover adjustment. Well, probably the last one. Probably not the first one, or maybe both. I don't know. So I'm gonna go look at that, and if my guy is behind that, I'm gonna pop that nipple off and give it a flip, and then readjust it, and hook it back up, because that would make a lot of sense as to why my cable was like a 1/4 inch off from where it was supposed to be. So let's hope, let's pray. Yep, that'll do it. Huh. Let's see if I can. Nope, it don't like that. Well, I'll see if I can go find a screwdriver or something to pop that off, and we'll give her a flippy flop. And maybe, ooh, yep, there we are. We'll do that. So I'm just gonna adjust it in till it has some slack right about there. Just call that good right there, and we'll see how it shifts. All right, so we just filled the tank up with diesel, and she's an entirely different machine. Whew, those shifts are rough, but that was first to second. Second to third, and so we're just in third right now, and now I'm going the speed limit. That has never happened before. Definitely need to smooth those shifts out, because that, about knock your fillings out. I'm used to going full foot into this accelerator, and it doesn't like me doing that. It kind of shifts like ass. But that's not even night and day. That is the abyss of space versus the skin melting sear of the unbridled sun. So I guess that's been fucked up since the first valve adjustment I did, and I just never noticed. And I haven't been able to drive the car anywhere in the interim. Shit, it might have been fucked up when I got it. I doubt it. Wow. I hate that I missed that. I think, well, actually, am I in fourth? I think I am in fourth right now, actually. So this is top gear. But the power is just so much better, and I think it'll actually downshift if I hammer on it. No, it's going too fast to downshift, but yeah, we're in fourth gear, so that must have rolled out in second. That's awesome. I'm ecstatic. I'm so glad it was something simple, and I'm so glad I didn't go down a rabbit hole before I figured that out. Thank you, random people on the forums. Sometimes it, pays to read. Who am I kidding? Fuck reading. All right, so we just tried acceleration from the same spot I did last video, and the new 0s to 60 time is about 16 seconds. So I probably could have squeezed another second out of that if I had, was used to this transmission and knew when to, back off the throttle to allow it to accelerate more. Because it didn't get into fourth during that whole time, it just stayed in third. And I might have been able to maximize the acceleration a little bit more if I'd have backed off the throttle stump, let it shift up, and then, wailed on it to get boost. Plus I didn't have it pegged out on the floorboard, but that is a lot better than the 28 seconds we started out with many videos ago, and the, whatever it was, 21, 22 seconds we had last video. So this is great. I think I'm going to adjust that Bowden cable in a little bit more, because it seems like it's waiting a little bit longer than I'd like to shift. So I think I'm gonna adjust it out just a little bit more to get it to shift a little bit earlier. But we're gonna drive her around for a while and see how we like it. But so far, it's great. Plus this thing is loud as hell now, which is nice. It sounds like I've got my tractor in first gear being pushed down a 50-degree hill. This is great. I love it. So that's fantastic. There's just a massive smile on my face. I mean, God, look at my fucking beard. It's horrible, but it's fucking wonderful. I love it. All right, also at this point, I think the engine's in the fuel tank, the fuel system's proved itself enough, so I don't think there's any reason to just randomly haul around 25, 30 pounds of diesel all the time. So we're gonna put that out, take that out and put it in the garage. We'll just leave that thing in there. And yeah, I just poured that into the tank and then just refreshed it, and we're gonna put it into storage. And there's the rest of my footrest. All right, now let's get to swapping out these headlights. So just as a baseline, you know, it's not entirely dark yet, but there they are. I just realized my alignment's off a little bit on that side, so I probably need to bump that guy up. But that's how bright they are. If I put the floodlights on, it ups that a pretty damn good amount. So my baseline low beam is not particularly bright, because like I'm damn near doubling my light output putting the floodlights on. And there's the brights. Brights ain't bad. But yeah, that's what we're looking at. So we're gonna swap in these new ones and we're gonna see if it's any better. All right, old one's out, new one's in. Let's do a quick side-by-side and not step on the old plastic. And just see how we're looking. Oh, wrong way. Yeah, that is brighter. And the alignment did not change. It does actually seem to be a lot narrower. See how the brights look. Oh wow, that bright point is like doing a thing. Why is that so different? Huh. I don't like that. Alright, so there's both new ones in now, and I don't like that candela effect going on, but they are noticeably brighter as a whole. Let's check with the fog lights. Yeah. They are noticeably brighter, they just have more of a candela effect going on. Let's see how these brights look. Those brights are really high, and they're off to the left. So that's great for blinding people. Would have been nice if they were off to the right. Can you not do that? They are even. So I guess all I need to do is get in the cab and make sure my, what is that, yaw is correct on them things. And put them covers back. I guess I can put the covers back on first, and then I can fiddle with my alignment and then take her for a test drive. All right, well, the covers are back on, and looks even for the most part. I made one last adjustment. The passenger side was a little low, so in the car, actually it was a little high. It still looks a little high, but I think that's just an optical illusion. I think the whole car is just kind of doing that because my fat ass is in here. So we're gonna clack the hood and take her for a spin down the road and try not to run over any deer, and hopefully this is much brighter. All right, so just from right here, backed up from the garage, it looks like the passenger side is thrown a little bit too far to the left for my liking. Driver's side is right where I want it, but it looks like the passenger side is skewed a little bit this way. So I'm gonna tweak the yaw on that guy a little bit and try and center it up real quick, and then we'll go take her for a run. All right, that looks much better. I would like a little bit more cast that way to see the deer, so we'll call that good, and I think it's time for a test drive. Nope, we're in neutral. Now it's time for a test drive. Well, it's absolutely brighter, that's for certain, and then those brights actually are garbage because they project over there and not down the road. So do not buy these Wagner, highlight ones. Shit, I have to fucking swap that back out. Because look at these brights, they're up here. And that's the low beam. Like, look at that. That is intolerable. Like, if I adjust these low beams any further down, I'm not gonna be able to see any far forward. And these high beams where they're at, I can't even fucking see the road because they're in the trees. And this is a low car. If I was in a truck, good Lord. Shit, so I think that was for nothing. I do like the low beams. The low beams are much better. But these high beams, that is unusable. Like, holy hell. I mean, maybe we'll try them for a hot minute and just see how much better the low beams are, because these are pretty good low beams. But that high beam is just trash. So I hate to say it, but I really like the low beams on these things. They are perfect. They are absolutely what I wanted. They're dialed in. Well, they could be a little bit further to the right, I think. But they are absolutely, the brightness and color temperature, I see you over there, you fat fucking hoofed rats. They are everything I want them to be, but these high beams are literally fucking useless. Like, look at, like, just, it's like 10 foot above the road. Look at this pattern shift. It's like at the main focal point, it's like 20 foot up and 20 foot to the left. It's worthless. It is perfectly designed to blind people in the other lane in trucks, and that is it. That's all it does. Which, I mean, is great in its own right, but still, like, that is, how do you fuck that up that bad? I mean, the other lights were also Wagner, and their high beams were just fine. It's like these have like a very narrow candela on them, and for whatever reason, the high beam is just borked in these things. So we're just gonna stick with it. We're gonna run with these low beams and call it a day, and never buy them again, because, I mean, just, what is that? That is, it's trash. Anyway, I'm gonna shut up about it and go to bed. It's fucking 10 something. All right, so on a completely unrelated subject to everything thus far, something that's been on the back of my mind that I've got a note to address because it bothers me is that this heater hose that I have coiled up here for the bypass for the heater core, because it's just always on heat. So in order for me to, you know, not have heat in the dead of summer, I've got a bypass in here, and that's just a valve that I just shut off, keeps coolant from flowing through the heater core, thus keeps the engine bay from, or cab from getting hot. But anyway, this guy vibrates constantly, and this is a nice sharp piece of steel, and so I'm always afraid this guy's going to sit here and just vibrate a hole through it and blow coolant everywhere. Thankfully, this is the heater core side, so if that does get cut through it, you know, oh yeah, like look at that, fuck, that's already almost gone right there. So good thing I checked. But anyway, I have this cut up piece of heater hose that I'm just going to slip over there as a loom, and that should God, I'm fucking glad I checked. Holy shit. That was unscripted. Good lord, that is already halfway through that hose. That might not even survive when I put engine pressure on that, so oofda. But anyway, we're going to ignore it, and we're just going to slide this already cut piece of heater hose that I found in my dad's Corvette heater hose pile, and that should, you know, buy us another, God, that's only been like a year, if that. Shit. All right, so I just slipped that slit piece of heater hose on there, put 4 zip ties on it, and put a 5th zip tie to just strap it to this holder doohickey jobber for the high pressure AC line. Might be low pressure, one of the AC lines. And that is really worrying, because that was already through the cotton weave in like 3 or 4 spots already. And I should really do something about that, because that might just pop under high RPM water pressure. All right, so real quick, we're gonna do our first full, actual proper oil change with filter change in the Mercedes, because we just did the initial dump of the oil, put some cheap Walmart oil in there, ran it around for about 500 miles, replaced the filter when we put that oil in, and then just dumped that oil and put in some actual good oil. And now we've probably put about 7,000 miles, 7,000 miles on Chevron Delo in there, and with some Lucas, and we're gonna do our first real oil change in Old Mossy. And she's getting the good stuff, the cheapest shit I could get from Tractor Supply, because I bought this for that transmission over there, but it's probably lunched, and it's got a horrid electronic ignition issue that's going to be like a $350 fix, so that's probably going to the junkyard. But anyway, we're going to throw some of that goop in there, and some of that goop in there, and a new oil filter, and just see whether or not we get any metal pieces coming out of that engine. So we'll see. And I'm also doing oil changes on the entire fleet, because everybody just happened to sync up on 4th of July weekend, and it's like the hottest fucking day of the year. Actually, no, it's like the 3rd hottest day of the year, because 4th of July and the day before 4th of July are going to be the hottest. It's only 97 out, so, you know, in 70% humidity. Don't listen to that thing. The humidity's so high that it's broken. So yeah, that'll be fun. All right, Merc's on the chopping block. Time for new goop, and tighten the alternator, because it keeps fucking squealing. All right, so we got the new filter in. We're putting oil in. I just dumped most of this thing in there. That's 9.5 liters, and I think this sucker takes, what is it, like 7 and some change or something? It's basically 8 quarts. It's like 7.8 quarts or something like that. And I've already used about somewhere between 1.5 and 2 quarts out of this thing for a lawnmower. So that's 10 quarts. So I should be 8.5 quarts in that thing, and I've left about 2-3 quarts in there. So we're just letting it percolate, and of course the fuel filter or the oil filter housing is empty, so there's that has to be accounted for and all that jazz. So we'll see where it's coming up. I want it to be, yeah, we're still going to need to, that's where it was last time I checked it. So we're probably going to need to dump this entire thing in there, because I want to see that all the way at the top hash mark, and then we'll go run it, let it fill up the oil filter housing, and then check it, and it should be considerably lower than that. So she's going to get a fair bit more goop. That's probably good. So we'll let that percolate for another 5 minutes and check her again. All right, let's see what she says now. Still under it a little bit. Yeah. She's probably gonna need this, probably this whole thing. So I'll figure that out, and then we'll go drive around, and if I use up this entire thing, any extra that we need, we'll just top off with Lucas. Okay, so we got the Mercedes brand crowbar out again, and we have our very factory spec alternator tension. So hopefully that should be the end of the squealing. And got the oil up right where I want it, a little bit over full. So we'll let that run through, and it should re-level out. I'll probably still need to add in maybe a half quart, but we'll see. So I'm going to just wrangle on this a little bit more, see if I can get a couple more turns out of this. I've already got this way better than it was, but I just don't trust it. It seems to lose tension really fast, and it's really jank retention in this thing. So anyway, I'll get to it. Okay, well, we're out here mowing grass, working on the gator, and drinking corn beer, and I took this sucker through a $15 car wash, and I did not get $15 out of that car wash. As you can see, the scum line is still there and is still very apparent, and it did not make much of a dent in there. At least it got kind of the bottom off. It did clean up the Craigslist side a lot better. This car doesn't really have a Craigslist side, it's got Virginia creeper, root stains over there and a hole on this side, but the body panel is nice and clean. So I'm going to probably commit some sort of cardinal sin here, but I'm just going to hose this side down in Dollar General bleach and just let this sit overnight, and then, Lord willing, I'm going to pressure wash, clean the cars tomorrow, maybe even hand wash them, maybe even wax them if they're lucky. Also, I took it through a $15 car wash, then changed the oil and tensioned the alternator, so I've got my fucking greasy mitt stains all over the side of it too. So this lichen, I assume it is a lichen, and that's coming from a highly experienced naturalist. I still don't even fucking know what this is. I'm assuming it's a lichen, because it's like embedded in the paint. It's got some sort of mycelium going on that's just in there, because the exact same stains come back in the exact same place every 4 fucking months, no matter what I do. So there is something living in the paint that is coming back out from the exact same spot, and we need to make it die. So we are just going to hose the side of the car down and bleach cleaner with this busted ass bottle. God, that's fucking annoying. And we're just gonna let it sit there overnight and just eat through the fucking paint, because I don't care at this point. I just want it to fucking clean up. And so we're going to make Mossy as unmossy as we possibly can. So I'm gonna fast forward 24 hours until I'm cleaning this thing. Well, as you can tell, all I did was just spray that shit on there, and it already had a massive impact. So that definitely was some sort of biological activity, because concentrated bleach, generally life does not like that a whole lot. So it just took that shit right off of there. It's probably taking the paint off too. I think I'm going to just quickly wipe this off because it's already dried off. I had to dump the rest of it on the hood because the fucking cheap $1 bottle broke, and is clearly taking some of the paint off to some degree. So that's exciting. It's also taking the wax off because my hands are slimy now. And they smell like bleach, strangely. So yeah, I'm just going to blast this with the hose real quick. Just take that, you know, I really probably shouldn't let this bleach sit on there. So I'm just gonna, you know, just blow that off of there real quick. Let her sit overnight, and then we will actually pressure wash, well, hopefully all of these fucking grimy things tomorrow. God, my back's gonna kill me. Well, after a quick spray, that bleach just ate off like almost all of that grime. So, like, I have not scrubbed this side at all. I just blasted it with regular old hose water, and you know, I'm on well water. It pumps down there. It comes up to a spigot and then goes through a fucking 50-foot hose out here. So, you know, I ain't getting the full 55 PSI that fucking pump's putting out. And it just blasted all of that off of here. And I mean, you can see where the bleach has actually bleached the paint, which is nice because I have white paint, but where it has actually left a little bit of staining on there where it worked. But that took that mung off like you wouldn't believe. Like, I sprayed this seam, as you can see right here, and you can see, well, one, where the wax came off and where the wax isn't. But that did a world of good. So great, glad I did that. I'm glad I washed it off too. So we will hopefully clean this pig up a little bit more tomorrow. All right, so we're washing cars, and old Mossy's been washed, and fuck do I hate pressure washing. But I am happy to report that all the packing tape finally came up, so that's nice, but the paint is gone. We don't have much life left in the paint. This son of a bitch is gonna have to get resprayed. The hood is now looks like this. And I didn't even pressure wash that section because it's just starting to come off. We got big chunks of this respray down here coming off, or either that or it originally had 2 coats. We have all of these like iron flecks popping off down in here now. Yeah, there's no way to save this paint now. It has to be resprayed. Or I can just clear coat it as is. Also, these diesel oil stains are part of the paint now. They don't come out. I 409'd them, zepped them, pressure washed them, 409'd them again, and then pressure washed them again, and they ain't coming off. So those have to be sanded off, which is crazy. Sprayed some 409 down in here to try and get rid of the moss and stuff, and it dissolved the iron and then ran the iron down the side of the car. So now I have streaks all down the Craigslist side now. And that's just iron, and that's in the paint, so that has to be sanded out. Good God. It's turned into a wreck, so I think we're just going to leave it as is, and maybe one day we'll clear coat it, but she ain't gonna be pretty when she gets sealed up. Now, I gotta clean both of those cars now, and that one, and it's only like 100 something out. And then probably clean that thing too. Probably not no reason to clean that, but it's a warm one. 4th of July. Happy birthday, America. 98 degrees out. I'm gonna be fucking fried. All right, so we're doing a psychedelic car wash again because I really like this Time to Shine car wash. I went through the one in Mount Pleasant, it was great, and I just happened to be in Columbia. Good Lord, hush. And got caught in a rain shower 3 miles on a, you know, Carolina red clay back road, and got the car immediately dirty again. So fuck it, we're taking it through here. We're getting the whole fucking ceramic treatment and everything, because why not? You gotta treat yourself sometimes. I already wasted $15, so might as well actually, you know, get a decent car wash this go around. So let's see how well the ceramic coat holds up. All right, so the Merc's all washed up and she looks slick. I like Time to Shine. That's if you're gonna use a car wash, in my opinion, for the money, can't beat them. I mean, I paid $15 at Finn's, and it was basically like they didn't even wash the car. And I paid $32 for the full-on works. It's $22 for just the wax, and that did a pretty damn good job. And I was serious about that. That is part of the paint now. Like, I'm gonna have to sand that fucking diesel mung out of here, which is annoying. Also, I noticed that when I pressure washed the hood, I didn't pressure wash the entire hood, and like, I have mismatched oxide. I don't know if you can see it because the light's terrible right now on a kind of thunderstorm, but it is like the correct ivory color in certain spots and then oxide white in another. So that's interesting. You can kind of see it right there. The image compression is letting it show through a bit. So that's annoying. So anyway, I've done a couple things because I drove it 300 miles yesterday, up to the Columbia and back. And after having just done the oil change, I went and I checked the oil. Oil is exactly where I left it, exactly where I want it. I didn't say anything weird with the oil pressure, just running straight, cheap mobile Delvac, which I guess isn't really cheap. I didn't realize how much cheaper diesel oil was compared to, like gasoline engine oil, like crazy cheaper. I've got T4 in there. Now, next oil change is going to be Rotella T4 just because fucking felt like it. Delvac was $15 for a gallon and T4 was 16, so everyone swears by T4, so we'll probably go with that in the future. Either that or go back to the Chevron Delo, one of the two. But anywho, it's not burning oil. Oil pressure is exactly where I want it. So whatever oil leak I had, it's just one of those passive front main leaks when the engine runs. The rear main leaks in the Jeep when it runs, and I think we burnt off maybe a half quart out of a fucking like 7 3/4 quart sump over like 4,000 or 5,000 miles, which I think is perfectly reasonable for a car with 175,000 miles on it. But anyway, I did 2 important fixes to this thing. Those are fix the cup holder, because cup holder's been broke. So I used one of those little plastic weldy jobbers and I fixed that guy because I kept put my phone in there and it kept sliding out, which was terrifying and annoying. Also, I adjusted the steering gearbox about somewhere between 1/3 and 1/2 a turn further out for the steering because it just felt like the steering had loosened up a little bit. Like after I replaced all the steering components and adjusted the gearbox the last time and got it right where I thought it needed to be, which was like 1 inch of slop. I think I didn't quite tighten it all the way, and then I think everything settled in after that. It just felt like it had a skosh too much play in the steering wheel, and it has felt like that. Also, the alignment is ever so slightly off, and it pulls ever so slightly to the right. Could also be because like all the tires were low, like 5 PSI on average, so I just topped everything up to 32 just to give me a little bit more wiggle room. And I tightened the gearbox about 1/3 to 1/2 of a turn. Well, gear locks in, but it felt a little bit tighter, like about half to 1/3 of the play had been taken out. There was zero, I felt resistance in both directions no matter where I went, and there was just, there's the natural play in the system because it's a whole mechanical linkage system. There's always going to be play unless you really get down in there and put really high precision bushings and shit in there, and let's be real, we're not doing that. She's running great, and also I don't need Lucas. The 1540 is definitely a market improvement over the 10W40, and I think I could probably get even better oil pressure switching to a 20W50, but no one sells 20W50 diesel oil anymore. You gotta hunt for that shit, and then it costs a lot. And my PSI is sitting at like 1.8 bar hot on like a boiling summer day at idle, which I think is perfectly fine. What is that, like 27 PSI? So I'm not worried about it until I see that thing sitting at like 1.5 bar. We're not going to go to 20W50 or cut the thing with Lucas. Trouble with Lucas is it makes your oil thicker, but there's no additives in Lucas, so you're diluting your additive package every time you do that. So if you're going to use Lucas, you need to either use the cheapest oil possible and just know your engine's going to fucking die way earlier, or use the best oil you can and then cut it with Lucas so your additive package is still high, or at least the oil with the thickest additive package. Well, I never thought I'd say this, but we're gonna put the carpets back in. Don't really see a reason not to. Took it through the car wash and drove it all around the rain and everything, and didn't get any water in the car. Let me go see and feel how the real culprit is right here, how this feels, and it's more or less dry. So I'm gonna try and put the original carpet back in, and I'm gonna try and leave those floor mats in. I just want to see whether or not I can get that carpet in on top of those guys. Probably can't, so I'm probably gonna have to put the floor mats, the rubber ones, on top of the carpet. I do kind of want to have the rubber ones in there as a bit of an air gap, just to keep that foam padding off of the floorboard, so that if water is running in here, there is an air gap so that it can run into my pre-drilled holes and get the hell out of here. But I think that will make a massive amount of difference in making this car not so goddamn loud, as well as, well, I was hitting some pretty big puddles, and I could feel the water blowing up out of that that drain hole plug thing I've got back there and just spraying my back. So we're gonna huck the original carpets in. We'll see if we can put them on top of the rubber ones. If not, we'll just throw the rubber ones either on top or in the trunk. All right, well, those suckers are in. The fire extinguisher's not loving life too much, but it'll get over it, I guess. Just a little bit this way. Turches it up a good bit, but I kind of liked the aesthetic I had going there with just the raw rubber mats. Just doesn't look quite right. But anyway, we'll see if it's quieter. If it's quieter, we're gonna leave them. Might pull those gray mats back out of there. The backs are fine. They're not getting in the way, but that mat's a little swole up. And front one over here, same dealio. I can still get it to fit under the accelerator pedal, but the test will be to see whether or not, I still have the same foot room I had. Yeah, it's I think I still got plenty of, not liking the foot room I got. I might have to actually fix this. It's a little tight on the old clod hoppers, so we might have to take the gray mat out from underneath this, but it will be interesting to see whether or not it's quieter now, because Lord, it was loud. So time will tell. Might pull that gray mat out, might not. We'll see. All right, so we're on our way to work, and I got the carpets down here. Gonna feel out whether or not I need to pull the gray guy out from underneath that, because my foot's just, it raised my foot up. It's about a 3/4 of an inch higher than it was before. However, Mercedes is markedly quieter. Let's jam on it. So that did actually quiet down to the point I don't need to wear earplugs in this thing. We'll see how it is while I'm cruising. I think the wind noise is still going to be severe, on account of, having holes like that and the weather stripping. But I think the exhaust and engine noises have been woed down enough that I can run this thing without having to wear earplugs or noise canceling headphones all the time. So we'll see. All right, so this is how loud it is going just about 57 or so, close to 60. Still loud, but it is a lot less loud. Most of the noise is coming from the weather stripping. Just cruising down Atomic Highway. Nothing really here to talk about other than just enjoying the Merc and just steeping in 90 degrees South Carolina August weather. Well, here's Allendale. They got some kites that spin around in the field down here, apparently. Well, you don't see many of them around here too often. Look at that. We're in some town, Hampton now, and we got brick watermelons on it and stuff. It's good to finally be back in me swamp. I can't do a fucking Shrek impression to save my life. It's good to be back in the old swamp. All right, so the real reason I've been filming all these clips as I'm driving is because the Mercedes has developed a new problem, and I don't know if you can see it, but the whole car is just very slowly vibrating. It's going like this. I don't know how well that comes out on video, but it's just a shaking. And thankfully, the problem started, well, at least I noticed the problem yesterday, and I already know the solution. So we're gonna fly across the road real quick over here to Donnelly, and I'm gonna show you how I fix it. So, we'll just pull over here real quick like. And It's a novel problem. It's pulling vacuum on the fuel tank. And just like that, you know, had about -5 pounds of PSI on the fuel tank. And, well, still vibrating a little bit, but it's not looping like it was. Yeah, so I need to go unplug that vent because that's annoying. All right, we're home now, and still is shaking. So I'm thinking what it is I think the strainer in the fuel tank is probably getting plugged again, because it's just not able to pull the fuel it needs to at low RPM anymore. So I first noticed it yesterday, and taking that gas cap off fixed it, but then I almost immediately topped it back off and then proceeded to drive another 400 miles over the next day and a half. So this guy ain't gonna hiss too much. Well, it's still hissing a good bit, but I'm thinking probably strainer's getting clogged again. So I generally don't, generally put diesel in this thing sometime, don't usually take it too much further below 300 on the Odo. So, I don't know whether or not I'm going to do anything about that in the near future, but I do have a new fuel line to put on there from the strainer to the actual line. So we might have to do that sooner rather than later. All right, so we got the Merc over here on the slab. I was doing some research, and I now know where the vent is. And apparently, if you have a clogged vent, you don't do anything about it. You can, implode your fuel tank, which would not be good, because then I lose fuel capacity. I don't think it causes any other problems other than that, unless it, implodes so hard it rips. But it's still loping a little bit, and I don't know why that is. I think I'm just going to ignore it for now, and we'll see whether or not it fixes itself or not. But it just seems a little too shaky on the low end, and I don't know what that's about. Fuel filter is a little clogged. It does have crud in there, so it may just be time to put a new one of those in there, because it does have a fair bit of schmutz down in there, but nothing crazy. So anyway, I'll look into it and monitor it, but at the moment I'm just going to clean out this fuel tank vent, which I believe is down under here. There it is, that guy. So I'm just going to go get a pair of pliers and pull this clamp off and pull this guy out, and it's probably just packed full of mud, or it's got a mud dauber jammed up in it or something. But that's the vent. So we'll blow some air in there with the vent cap off and just make sure that it is actually, the tube is actually free, and then we'll pull this guy off and clean whatever junk is in it out of it. All right, so I've gotten under there. I tried pressurizing the fuel tank to blow air out of there, but I couldn't hear anything. Also, I didn't really have a good setup, so I was kind of just trying that, and that didn't work. But anyway, then I tried doing a little bit of a Venturi effect, just in case there was crud in this line to kind of suck it out rather than blow shit further in. That didn't work, so I just hooked the line up to it, blew compressed air into it, and I heard it coming out there. So the vent is free to some degree. It's enough to, let, whatever the hell this is, it lets 75 PSI through it, which I don't think the fuel tank is operating at, but it was pulling a really heavy vacuum. Anyway, I've taken this off, the little hose disintegrated. This is fine. I can pull vacuum on it. Air comes through it, doesn't come through very quickly, but it comes through it. I don't see any crud or anything in there. I'm just going to try and blow it out, blow some carb cleaner in there or something, or probably some mass airflow sensor cleaner, because I don't think that melts plastic. And just kind of clean the rest of the crud out of this little tube here. And got a piece of 3/8 hose that I think I'm going to stick on there with probably some beefier hose clamps. Just so that if this fails in the future, it can, suck air around this rather than out of there. I don't care if it's, got positive pressure coming out of it. So anyway, we shall see, but I will clean this up as best I can and put it back on, and hopefully stop pulling vacuum in the fuel tank. Still don't know why it's loping at idle. It's a little bit concerning, but I'll have to look into it, and that's a future problem, Tom. Future Tom problem? Can't speak. All right, so I eventually went to carb cleaner and then compressed air, and don't put 75 psi to this thing because it has a rubber diaphragm in there, and I blew it clear out the other end. So this is now just fully passed through, and it looks like somebody's been in here before, but anyway, it just lets air through both ways now. So that's a good thing and a bad thing. Bad thing, you don't really want air coming out of this thing. It's a rollover thing, so if it flips over, it doesn't just like start puking diesel everywhere. Let's get puke diesel out of a million other places, so I'm not really worried about that. However, this does mean that this is now open to the elements, so shit can just like float in here because that diaphragm isn't working. So ideally, I should get another one of these. But I think what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hook a fucking fuel filter up to it just to act, as a breather. I'm just gonna like cut this shit off. Or maybe just jam this down in here, maybe? Something. We might do something like that. And just turn this off to the side or something like that. And have a fuel filter in line with it. And that'll act like a, just the same way a breather does on, a transfer case or something like that, or on PCV. Not ideal to be doing that underneath the car, so I don't know. I gotta think on it. I may just stick this back on here and just jam like a little bit of screen in here and cross pin it or something just to keep the mud daubers out. Maybe that's probably what I'm gonna do. Probably just gonna put some window screen on it or something just to keep the junk out of it. But anyway, we shall see. But it is now just freely lets fucking air through it now, so it'll breathe. All right, so I found my 5/16 fuel line, and I'm too lazy to do anything, so we're just putting it back in as is. The mud daubers will just fucking ruin this like 3 times a year or something. And these clamp-on hose clamps are just fucking ass. So they're both like totally bent beyond recognition. And I don't even know if that's on there, but just jammed up against the frame now, which is wasn't doing before, so I don't really understand that. But anyway, good enough. We have a bunch of sudden frame softening going on, which I'm not a fan of. I think my butt sits there, so that's interesting. Maybe that's why it feels like it's rattling around underneath my seat while I'm driving. So, anywho, still don't know why it's loping. I'll just promptly ignore it. All right, so I slept on what I did with the breather, and it just something about it just doesn't quite feel right. So I had thought, I've got this old fuel filter that came off of the thing that is, it's got a bunch of small gunk in it. I think I'm just going to replace the breather with that because the breather doesn't necessarily have anything in it stopping sand and dirt and fucking shit from getting into the fuel tank other than, the giant, J-hook in it. So at the moment, theoretically, a mud dauber can get in there and weasel its way potentially through the breather. I don't think so. I think the thing is a port that comes in and then spreads out like that and goes through probably a couple of like cavities and then comes back down to a central port. I think it's kind of has a path like that. So I don't think there's a clear shot that a mud dauber can get into the actual line itself. I just don't want to be sucking sand into the fuel tank because that's another thing is I live on dirt. So that little hook is just sitting this far from the ground. The little bell end right there just going hoovering up sand, which I think is probably not the best thing. So I think since the breather is just open air at the moment, I'm going to replace it with this 5/16 fuel filter that came off of it. And I should just be able to put that little rubber bell end right on the end of this and just put a couple new hose clamps on there since the other hose clamps fell off and just have that in here because this guy, has a bunch of metal screening in there. So that's perfect. That's exactly what I want. So I think that should work out. Additionally, I don't think I have a spare new fuel filter. I'll have to look for it, but I think I have another one of these. I think I replaced it, had a bunch of crud in the other one, and then I've already replaced the other one. And I think there's a new one or the old used one, the new used one in the trunk of the Mercedes as, just an emergency backup. So I'm gonna go see if I can find that. But I think I'm going to either replace the pre-filter that's in there just to get all the crud out of it, or I'm probably just gonna wash the thing. Honestly, just pull it out, blow some 95% ethanol backwards through it just to wash all the chunks out, and then just hit it with some low pressure compressed air just to blow all the junk out. And then I'm going to try and blow out the fuel tank strainer, which is where you just take the cap off, put it out of the way, and then take the supply line off of the fuel filter, and then just put just a light amount of air pressure, 10 to 20 psi in there, and just blow all the fuel that's in the line back into the tank, reverse through the strainer, which should blow, if you have a layer of gunk built up on the strainer, just blow chunks of that off, which would open it back up to, improving fuel flow, and then stop, and then let, the cavitation come back and the fuel to hit it and the fuel to flow back into it, and just keep doing that. Just blowing it off, blowing all the fuel out so that the fuel can push pieces off, and then the air comes through and cavitates and bubbles. And, just do that a couple times, just to blow as many chunks off as you can. Then let it sit, put the fuel cap back on, do it one last time, and then you'll have a pressurized tank, and it'll blow fuel back up to the fuel filter, and you can put the fuel filter in and have it prime the filter all the way to get all the air bubbles out, and then just cap it off with your thumb and then stick it back in the line, and then you only have one little air bubble potentially in the line between the lift pump and the fuel filter, and you can just tap that till it comes back up in the fuel filter, and then you don't have to prime the system, as long as you didn't dump all the line out of the supply or the whatever lift pump. That's another thing too, is potentially a lift pump might be going out, but I'm not going to think about that, and we're going to do this first before we think about that. So anyway, I'm going to get to that at some point eventually. We'll see. Also, just to be extra safe, I'm going to give this thing another shot of BioClean Biocide, just in case I've got another a diesel algae outbreak coming, because this thing came with diesel algae, so I'm sure this fuel tank is just now forever tainted with spores. And I've just been dumping BioClean in it, just giving it an ounce or so on a full tank, just to, about once every 4 months or so, just to try and burn some of that stuff off. And then hopefully we'll sterilize the tank at some point. So just to be on the safe side, we're going to do that. Okay, so I checked the trunk, and I don't have that spare fuel filter, so I think that one that I have in there must be the new one that I put in there really early on, and I think I replaced it because of how much crud was in it. So I'm not going to look for the other pre-filter. I may need to pick one of those up. Also, I did just remember that this thing only has, look in there on the trip, it's got about 400 on the trip, and that's, without the 0.0675 multiplier for the odometer. So this thing's got less than a quarter of a tank in it. So that's probably a good indication that either the lift pump's getting a little bit sad, which we're not going to, consider, and probably that there is actually gunk on the strainer, because if this thing's got a quarter of a tank and it's acting like it's not getting enough fuel, it's probably because the static pressure of the tank, well, one, that in combination with it pulling vacuum, is not enough to push it to the lift pump. So we've got it to the point now where the fuel is low enough that there's not pressure on the strainer, so it's not pushing it through the strainer to get it down here. It's all on the lift pump. So probably topping this thing up will make that go away. I pretty much never run this thing below about, not half a tank. I never run it below a third of a tank for the most part, unless I'm going on a long trip. And I went on a long trip and I ran it below, I ran it down to a quarter of a tank 2 days in a row. So that may have been enough that there was a bunch of junk just floating in there, and I got it low enough that all that junk got pulled into the strainer. So we're going to try and blow that off again, because I'm not fucking pulling that damn strainer off unless something really serious happens. So we're going to try and blow that out, and then I'll just top it back up with diesel, or I'll top it back up with diesel, then we'll blow it out. I don't know when the hell I'll get to it. We'll do that at some point. And yeah, that should hopefully just filling the tank up with gas will make it stop, in which case, it's one of those two things. Either lift pump is not quite pumping as much as it should have, or it's got junk on the strainer. We're going to go with junk on the strainer. Also, I'm going to replace that breather and just make it, a little bit, put a little bit of face mask on there, keep some of the junk out of it. All right, it's 10 a.m. It's already in the 90s in here. Let's do this breather and clear this fuel tank strainer and just hope for the best. Gonna go drive to the damn auto parts store, get some fuel system cleaner, top off the tank, and just see what the hell happens. All right, so here's what I've got going. So because this guy is just a clear shot through it, I want to keep the bugs out. So what I've done is I've taken the old pre-fuel filter, which has this nice fine metal screen in there, and I've just glued the bell end onto it, put one of the old hose clamps on there for good measure, and then, sorry, I still got coffee shakes, put some of the T8000 Wonder Glue on there just to keep it on there just in case, because it's not a perfect fit and I just don't want that getting knocked off, because I'm sure that's irreplaceable. And then anyway, I have taken a new piece of 5/16 fuel line, put that down here on the bottom, clamp that on with one of the old fuel line clamps, and then put one of my fuel line clamps on there. We're just gonna jam that back on there, and this is substantially longer than the original one, so it's going to hit the frame. So I'm going to cock it off to the side like that, and it'll just have to be bent a little bit, and it'll get over it, or it won't, or it'll break. One of the two, and I might have to kick this off to the side like that, just to keep that from dragging on the ground. Yeah, we'll throw that back on there, and that should be good as new. It's gonna let, diesel air out of there when the tank heats up and pressurizes, but I just don't care. It's better than getting sand in it. All right, so there that is, tucked up out of the way where it can, just fill up full of sand and other shit. But better than nothing. Let's go see if we can blow some air through the strainer and try not to get soaked in diesel at 10 in the morning. All right, well, the fuel filter is out. And that's a lot of shit. Now, ideally, I would just put a new fuel filter in, but I don't have one. So we're gonna wash that out with 95% ethanol, which, wherever the hell I put it, if we're being honest, we should probably not be putting this into a fuel filter for a diesel, but I'm gonna let it bake in the sun, and there's gonna be no water or ethanol left in it by the time it goes back in there, and it'll burn up anyway. So we're just gonna clean that sucker out, and then I'm going to take this clamp off of there and just put a little bit of air pressure. Now my regulator's fucked, so it's either 120 psi or 10. So we'll feather that and just cut the gas cap off. And we're just going to blow air through there and let it come back, and then blow air and let it come back, and do that, 10 or so times, just to try and knock some of that crud off of the strainer, and then just pray that it runs better. All right, so here's the fill filter. I've been cleaning this out with carb cleaner and 95% ethanol, just off and on. And it's pretty clean, but I still don't like how much chunks there are in it. So at the moment, I've got it capped off with it full of ethanol. And I think I'm going to jam it in my bag through this orbital sander and just like hold this on here and just run around with this thing and see if it vibrates it clean, because we can't find the fucking or ultrasonic cleaner. And I've already blown compressed air through the fuel line about 10 times, and I can hear it coming out the tank cap, so it's doing something. I don't know whether it's cleaning anything, but it's doing something. So we'll see if that does anything. But I'm just gonna go see if I break this or get a bunch of ethanol inside my orbital sander and catch on fire and blow up or something. But fun. All right. There's the fuel filter. There's my ultrasonic cleaner, and it's actually making decent progress. So, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna do that. I don't think I'm gonna get much better than that, but that's honestly surprising for how much of a hack that is. Well, that's as clean as I'm gonna get that. I'll just let it bake in the sun for a little bit. All right, this is damn near impossible to do one-handed, but more or less what I'm doing. Just giving it some time to percolate, and then with another 20 psi, giving it some time. I'm just doing this while the fuel filter dries out. And then I'm also hitting the fuel filter with compressed air just to accelerate the evaporation, because sometimes in shit like this, it won't actually evaporate in a closed space like this unless you do some airflow. So we're just doing that. And I'm hoping eventually this will maybe help. And then we're going to drive into town, buy some BioClean fuel system cleaner, top off the tank, add that to the tank, and I assume that I'm hoping that when I fire this back up, it'll run great, and then by the time we get to the fuel station, I might even actually, I've got 5 gallons of diesel right here, my emergency diesel. I might just dump that in the tank, just to keep everything I blew off from going right back into the strainer. Then go down to the gas station, refill the tank, refill my gas jug, put some BioClean in it, and call it Gucci. I think that's what I'm going to do. So we're going to wait on that to dry, continue blowing shit out there. I'll dump this in the tank while I'm over here. And then the last step is going to be putting this cap back on. And since we have made the vent two-way now, it's kind of impairs my ability to do this next step. But what I'm going to try and do is close the gas cap, blow air in there, pressurize the fuel tank, and then immediately stuff the fuel filter in there and allow the fuel filter to purge the whole line in the fuel filter of air. And as soon as diesel starts coming out of the top of the fuel filter, and I'll angle it to keep all the bubbles out, I'll just cap it off and then let the vent bleed the rest of the air pressure out. And then I should just be able to jam that down into there, pump out the rest of the air, bleed off any bubbles up there, and we should be Gucci. All right, 5 gallons of diesel are in her. Fuel filter's dried, hook back up. We are just going to add air to this for a good 30 seconds or so that it can pressurize the tank, and it's going to simultaneously try and push fuel out of here and push air out of the breather. And I'm hoping we'll have enough air in there that we can push fuel all the way up out the tip of this right here while pushing all the air out of there, and we can just plug it in. And if that doesn't work, then, well, we're just going to plug it in there and prime it for 30 minutes. So, either or, but I'm just interested to see whether or not this works, or if it blows one of the supply lines off, which would not be fun. All right, well, that's back on there. Pressurizing the tank with a busted breather that breathes both ways did not work, but I was able to suck on the fuel filter and get just enough up to wet the, fill up this line and wet the bottom of the filter. And then I used the Venturi effect by just blowing 100 psi compressed air over the tip of the fuel filter. And it's extremely precise, angle and pressure and everything. And it either doesn't work or works really great. And so I blew a nice fine mist of diesel all over the side of the engine for the split second, because it went from not pulling any fuel to sucking up, like a gallon per hour, and faster than that, gallon per minute, and just misted everything. So I'm going to pick that up and I bled off as much air as I can. I always have a bubble in this fuel filter, and I can never get the bubble out of there, so I just leave it in there. And yeah. All right, moment of truth. Let's see if she lopes or not. Might have to do a little bit of an Italian tune-up on it a little bit just to get any air bubbles that may be in there out, but we'll see. Still loping, but yeah, she's still loping for the time being, but we'll drive her up, fill her up, put some cleaner in there, and see if she clears up a bit. All right, so they didn't have the bio-clean stuff that I had before, but they did have this, so it was cheaper, and it treats up to 100 gallons, so I can get at least 4 uses out of this. So should be good enough. Also, shout out to the madman in charge of doing the beer supply at the Pig in Hollywood. Like, what the fuck, my dude? Like, like, you just walk into the back of the damn little podunk grocery store, and they just have like fucking boutique, like exquisite fucking craft beer. I can't even find this shit at Total Beer and Wine. Just in the back of the store, just right there with handwritten tags on it and shit. Just fucking, you're a saint. Bless you. I bless you. That is hallowed ground. As a fellow beer snob, I thank you. Thank you for your efforts, your services. You'll be rewarded by St. Peter at the pearly gates. Thank you. Blessed. Good Lord, look at you. Jesus, it's like a kielbasa. Look at that guy. Look at that. Look at that fucking dude. Look at that thing. That thing is huge. Oh, there she goes. That's not even a male broadhead. That's a female. Yeah, I see you, thick girl. Where you at? There you are. Look at that thing. Jesus Christ, it's like a monitor lizard. Boop. All right. Goodbye, thick girl. Well, car wasn't shutting off, and we snapped that line there, so I don't know if I can fix that one. But I guess we'll give it the old college try, but we may be buying a new one of these. Always something. All right, well, I topped her up with diesel, and the lope is gone, but she don't do the shut off no more. However, we have the technology. We can rebuild it. Simmer down, just like good old times. So, my plan is I am just going to cover this fucking thing in more T8000 Wonder Glue and then wrap it in electrical tape and just forget about it, because I don't care anymore. Because allegedly, I may have drank 10 beers in half as many hours while dehydrated and heat stroked on an empty stomach yesterday, and I feel like ass. I feel like dog ass. And I just can't be bothered to stand out here in the heat after a full day at work and fuck with this. So we're just gonna shmoo it and wrap it and just leave it like that and ignore it and forget it ever happened. So while I do that, please enjoy this PD sketch that I borrowed without asking, that perfectly sums up my mood right now.
Hey guys, happy Monday. I've got an announcement.
What's up, man?
I have a hangover today.
Oh no, how did that even happen?
I drank 10 beers last night.
On purpose?
Absolutely.
Not a small amount.
Yeah, once I start, I don't stop until my little head reaches my soft pillow.
You look fine.
I'm really good at that.
How does it make you feel?
Like everything good will become bad, and everything bad will become bad.
Oh fuck, man, that sucks.
Yeah, I've become very nervous and hyper aware of my own mortality.
Ooh, scary.
Yeah, but at the same time, if I just dropped dead right now, I would be like, totally whatever.
That sounds kind of relaxing. Yeah, if you die, you don't gotta be afraid of dying no more.
Well, yeah, exactly.
What you got there?
Oh, I just made a little visual representation of how I feel.
That's just a blank screen.
Exactly, man.
Is that like a white light that you want to go towards?
Or it's more of a visual representation of feeling completely empty inside. Both good guesses, guys. Honestly, it could be either, but I think it's important to remember that I just don't give a fuck.
You're just not really working on much today.
Oh yeah, I'm not doing jack shit until Wednesday at least. Many people won't.
That's gotta have a larger effect on something.
Probably, yeah.
The economy?
Probably. Yeah, but buying a shit ton of alcohol's gotta be pretty good for the economy.
Yeah, so I guess...
Schmood. There. Good as new. I give that about a 33% chance of working. It's fucking good enough. Alright, so our jury-rigged fix to a hack job vacuum line fix isn't working. She ain't shutting off. So I'm going to see if I can rekajigger some of these vacuum lines in order to run off of this port right here. Because, as you might be able to tell, I've only actually got 3 lines that need vacuum. It's this guy going in here that actually controls controls a lot of things. And then, let's see, this line going back into this guy, and this guy right here. So I'm hoping what I can do is, since both of these lines are plugged off with a BB, they're not getting vacuum, that's EGR junk. And this is a 4-way splitter and that's a 3-way splitter. I'm hoping I can pull this 4-way off, swap it over to this one, and then swap this 3-way over here. Basically just swap these 2 lines from one to the other, and then just plug the 3 vacuum lines that I actually need to do anything into that one 4-way, and then hopefully it'll work for the time being, and then I won't have to, buy a new one of these, or it'll still have a massive vacuum leak and it won't work, and in which case we'll just glue the entire thing shut. But anyway, we'll see. Okay, so ostensibly what I've done is I've moved this 4-way from here over to here, and then I've taken this line out of here, and I've instead run the vacuum into there rather than into here from wherever the hell I had it, or however. I don't remember how the hell I had this thing, but anywho, suffice it to say, we now have this main vacuum line that goes into the cab now hooked up to this first fitting through here, and then this line that goes over the transmission modulator whatcha-who's-it hooked up, and then this other line that goes up in here into all these other transmission whatcha-who's-it-call-it's hooked up to the 4-way. And this 3-way I've plugged off with another golf tee just to keep the mud daubers out. One problem I had with the 4-way is, as you can tell from this white mark, that was running to this EGR line, and I had a BB jammed in there in order to not supply a vacuum, so it, 1, didn't do anything, and 2, didn't cause a vacuum leak. But I had to somehow get the BB out of there, so thankfully I was able to get a decently sized finishing nail and just jammed it one way into the 4-way, and then grabbed the tip with the needle nose pliers and just pushed the BB out. And that worked like a charm. So now, with any luck, I should be able to take this stuff off the cowl so don't forget about it, and fire this thing up, go drive it around the yard, come back, and it should just shut off. And we should have no additional problems because these 2 lines were not hooked up anyway. And this line was just feeding this 3-way. So with this and this, the glue had actually blocked off that line, so even if it had sealed, it wouldn't have worked because it wasn't getting vacuum because of my hack glue job. So I just left it there because the glue was already packed. Well, the fitting itself came out, so that's been thrown away. But there's glue in the actual fitting, and then I just wrapped the electrical tape around it. So this should not be causing a vacuum leak, or at the very least, it's not going to hamper anything else. And it shouldn't affect the brakes because, you know, the brakes are back here behind this check valve, unless the check valve is blown. But anyway, I'm gonna fire up and just drive around the yard real quick, and hopefully she should shut off. Alrighty, we're back. Does the vacuum kill switch now work? No. Oh! Sort of, maybe. It's trying. Might have a vacuum leak. I don't think it's building enough vacuum. It should be able to do it passively. Yep. I've got a vacuum leak. Shit. Alright, so as an additional stopgap, just in case that horrid 5-way monstrosity was causing the vacuum leak, what I've done is I have simply routed this major line down here into that 3-way connector, and then plugged the only 2 lines I actually have plugged into that. So that should limit the actual air volume in there. Also, additionally, this hose here could be causing some of the problem. So may have to look into that, but I don't want to hook this guy directly up into here because I feel like it's just going to yank on stuff. Also, I'm running out of room here for the slack that I need for this green line. So I don't really want to push this too much further. But might make more sense to maybe hook this up to here maybe, and then route this line through this hose or something. I might need to shift this coupler around just a little bit. Actually, I'm going to do that right now. All right, so I routed this again. I just moved this over to here, moved this guy over to here, and then I moved this hack job extension that I have down here onto this big line that's supplying here. That should hopefully eliminate some of the issues I was having, because now the total length that's going through the system is back to what it was before, so any additional volume I had in there should be taken up. Also, I got this guy in here like 2 inches now. So maybe, just maybe, that fixed it. I'm gonna fire back up real quick and just see if she's any better. All right, so I just let her sit here in high idle for about 20 seconds. Let's see if some magic happens. Hey, that's significant progress. So hopefully that fixed it, because I gotta drive the sucker like 4 different meetings over the next 4 days, and I don't want to be embarrassed. You know, that's my job, embarrassing myself, not my cars. So anyway, that's hopefully fixed forever, for good, permanently. 100% Mercedes approved repair right there. God, that looks awful. Look at this fucking Lovecraftian body horror monstrosity. Ugh. All right, so dark 30. It's 4:40. I got a 5.5 hour drive all the way up to Chickassie Gorges, which is gonna be fun. I'm gonna get home at like 10 o'clock tonight. Hooray! But anywho, slight new problem I found yesterday afternoon. The seal on the gas cap, or fuel tank cap, since it's a diesel, is starting to leak. So it's sloshing diesel when I go around Tokyo drifting on these dirt roads, and it gets up and then it spills out, and then there's a little bit of diesel dripping out the back of the car, which is never fun to see or find, and it's a little embarrassing when you rock up in a parking lot and your car starts dripping diesel on the concrete. But anywho, so I went and looked up that, and it's fucking $25 just to get a fucking rubber seal for a diesel fuel cap. So while I'm there, I'm just gonna pick up a new fuel tank breather. And also, the brake booster hoses are back in stock on Pelican parts. So I picked one of those up for 75 bucks. The Lerms custom ones were 110, well, 100 probably 20 after tax. So heck with it. We'll get another plastic one. Got deer running in front of me up there. And yeah, so we're just gonna go ahead and replace all of these small issues with brand new parts, because total price was like less than 150 bucks. We'll just get it done and not worry about it. Also, the reason why I'm replacing the vent is because the car just smells like diesel all the time now, because it just like heats up, pushes diesel vapor out, and then it settles under the car and then leaks up into it. So every time I get in the car, it just smells like diesel, which is just annoying. So we're just gonna not. Why do they put all these damn hills everywhere? Like, just make everything flat like it is on the coast. Like, good Lord. Why all y'all mountain people gotta be making all these dirt mounds and shit? Like, wasteful. Put that dirt to good use. Man, I have not been back in Clemson since I graduated. It's nice to be back. I'm glad to not have to pay to be here, but it's nice to be back. All right, so just ran her down on fumes for the first time, so that was exciting. And boiling hot, and you can't find a decent DP diesel pump anywhere in Anderson. So just word of caution. Oh, we going in the thick of it. About to get wet. Well, I do have to say, I think I probably fixed whatever fuel delivery issue we may or may not have had, because I've been rolling coal the last week. I just pulled out of my driveway and just blew a big fat black cloud out the back until I was in third gear. So that's impressive. And I did it the other day and was really surprised, because I've never seen this thing blow black in daylight. I've seen clouds come out of the back of it that get picked up in headlights at night. But you know, I'm seeing black clouds behind me now. So I think I may have actually cleaned something out. All right, it's windy out for some reason. And I got parts in, and I'm not going to throw them, because for whatever strange reason, they sent me 2 booster lines. And they only charged me for 1, which is awesome, because it's like fucking $75 and they were unobtainium a year ago. But they're back in stock. So I'll just hang on to that. And now I'm one of the scalpers. So I'll be selling that on eBay in a year when they're back out of stock for $170. So keep your eyes peeled if you need one. No, hit me up if you need one. I'll ship it to you at cost. But anyway, well, I'll ship it to you at cost for what I paid for the first one. But we got one of these, whatever they are, Viton fuel tank things, and there's already a hole in it. I didn't cut this. This was already here, so that's exciting. I'm sure this is OEM and not a scam. Anyway, this shit took like 3 weeks to get here, which is just fucking weird, but we're gonna throw that on this. I'm thinking that whenever I pulled negative vacuum on this, it must have just ballooned this thing out. And, you know, this seal that was working fine, I've been driving this thing for like 1.5 years, maybe pushing 2 years now. It's been perfectly fine, haven't had this issue, but then as soon as we started pulling negative pressure on this tank, when this guy failed, it started fucking up, and it's just dumping. You can just see there's just diesel down in there just all the time now. And it just makes the car smell like diesel. It also does this, which I'm sure is not good for whatever's left of the paint. So, yeah, I'm just going to replace that real quick. I checked this thing, and it doesn't hold pressure, really. So it's not doing anything better than that, you know, fuel filter I have on there. So that was a waste of $35, but I have one now. So I can replace that if I ever need to, but I'm just going to throw that in the garage. Also, apologies for the nasally voice. I'm sick. So anywho, I'm going to replace this. I'm going to go grab the 3/4 inch wrench, and we're going to replace that. And this is just going to get thrown in the parts bucket, because I don't feel like moving this thing over onto the slab to fuck with. All right, well, there that is. That shit's damn near like 10-year-old tire rubber now, so this should seal much better. If it even, oh my God, like actually seals. That's crazy. So anyway, we'll see if that fixes it, because I don't even know if that was actually the root of the problem. I'm assuming that filler neck is one continuous steel piece that's welded to the tank. So the only way that could be leaking into here, I assume, is out of that rubber piece, which is why I replaced that. And if not, we'll just fucking ignore it. But anyway, we'll save this piece of diesel-y rubber just in case. It's still in surprisingly good shape despite all the, you know, massive weather checking for being damn near 40 years old. And let's go replace that. Also, just real quick, the paint on this fucking thing is getting like really bad really fast, and I don't entirely know why. So any hopes I ever had of like doing anything decent with this paint and like getting like an even clear coat on it, they're all out the fucking window. I'll be lucky if I can fucking clay bar this thing before we put that clear coat on it. So we might just do that sooner rather than later. I'm also really thinking about this fucking air conditioner, about just winging that sooner rather than later and just hoping the compressor's not junk. So anyway, stay tuned. All right, well, the new brake booster vacuum line is in, and let's just say QC was not at the forefront when they were pumping these out of the Euro Parts factory, or wherever the hell Euro Parts, subcontracts this shit from, because this thing is clocked all fucking wrong. I had to turn this 180 degrees to get it underneath there. Like, it's supposed to be like that. It's like that. It's interesting. We'll just leave it at that. But anyway, this guy is doing fuck all, and this guy is how we had it set up before, and it wasn't working very good there for a minute, and then it started working really well for a minute. So I don't know what happened, but I have a feeling that these things have too small of an orifice, and the port isn't enough vacuum to be able to actually control everything all at once. So I probably need to split everything back up again, but I'm too fucking lazy and sick right now to do that. So we're just going to put all this together as is, and we'll see if it continues to work or if it blows up. Also, I just noticed that fuel filter I just cleaned is fucking chock full of garbage again. It already just banged half of that off of there, so that's great. We definitely have run this thing low, and there is some fucking trash in the lines. So again, very exciting. But that's in there. So we have more vacuum ports now, and that'll go back in the garage, and we'll save that in case we need it. All right, so just drove over to work and back, and vacuum shut off is not shutting off now that we have the new vacuum line on there, but I did just top the whole thing up with diesel, and it seems like the gas tank cap is working. So yeah, she's still just kind of doing this. Doesn't seem to make much of a difference, but it does seem like I still have most of the power brakes. So I think either there is a plug in that line and that line is actually not allowing vacuum flow, but I can't imagine since I have vacuum brakes, or there's some sort of plug in the orifice. But best I can figure, fuel tank cap is, yep, diesel free, so that's fixed. But let's get in here and see what the hell's up with this hose. All right, so I disconnected this line, and there appears to be a distinct lack of suck going on. Like, it's there, but it's not very strong. And given this thing RPM doesn't do anything. Well, there's definitely plenty of vacuum there, so the leak is on this thing, actually. Feels like. It also doesn't feel like it's pulling as much vacuum as it should. So, I'm gonna look into that. Okay, so literally all I did was just put a cap on this line that I had taken. I previously had this on it before, and I just took that off, shoved a T in it previously, and left that uncapped. So I just put a cap on it, and I swapped this, and then I hooked everything back up, and it still didn't work. So I swapped that line with that line, and now it works flawlessly. So I don't know what the fuck I changed other than swapping those two, but I guess one is doing something the other one isn't. So she's going. She just shuts off perfectly. So fixed. Whatever. Works for me. Well, for my own sanity, I decided to just take that line, the whole octopus monstrosity off, and just capped off both of these lines and capped off that guy. So theoretically, this should still work. Don't know why that guy needed to be on the one or the other, but I'm just gonna stop thinking about it and go inside and drink beer, but this should just fire right up. Let her go for a second, and no hesitation at all. Perfect, A-OK, Tom seal of approval. All right, I think we're gonna call this video here. I just realized I have way too much footage in the prior video that I still haven't edited after however many fucking months. And I might need to just kind of cannibalize some of that, stick it into this one, so we shall see. I may even have too much in this one. I don't know yet. But anywho, I figure it's probably good to call the video here. So she's sucking much better now. I haven't tested anything, so that is complete fucking conjecture. But, I mean, I got more ports now, so it should probably suck a little bit better at the very least. I don't fucking know. But anywho, yeah. Right now, I'm thinking about the AC. I have all the parts sitting there. I just haven't done anything because it's, Freon's just really fucking expensive right now. And so I've been hesitant to, just replace the dryer and check to see if the T-stat is, or not the thermostat, the fucking expansion valve is easy to replace. Because if it is, I'll just do that, and if not, but anyway, I'm hesitant to put new shit in there just for there to be a giant fucking leak and all the Freon to bleed out, moisture to get in, ruin the fucking desiccant, and I have to buy another one. But at the same time, it's fucking hot in this car, and I kind of just want to fucking put some fucking R134A in this, hook the compressor back up, get the belt back on. Oh fuck, I don't want to have to deal with fucking detensioning the fucking compressor, or detensioning the fucking alternator. But anyway, that's another fucking story. So I might just hook this compressor back up, and I got all the clear coat stuff, so I might be able to make enough room to get this thing into the garage, to fucking clay bar it and fucking give it a coat of polish and clear coat it. Who am I fucking kidding? I'm not going to get to that for another 5 years. But anywho, I'm done with this video. So like the video if you like this kind of stuff. Leave me a comment. Tell me what I should do next with this thing. And if you like what I'm doing here and you want to see the rest of this series, then you gotta subscribe. So smash the big gray button. And until next time, I'm out.